So now that we know how to get all posts, it's time to practice our JSON on other URLs. So for example, if you head on over to the same service that I have been using, which is this service, they allow you to do other things such as getting a specific post. So you don't have to get all of the posts. Maybe you are interested in only one post or one thing, one element. As you can see, this URL is going to allow you to get only one single post by ID. If you pass one, you are going to get one. You are going to get only one single post by its ID. So let's now apply this to our project where we will add a function that AJAX function that is capable of getting only one single post by ID. So the process is going to be very similar to what we already have done with getting all of the posts, but this time it's going to be slightly different. The difference is going to be in the basically in the URL and also in inserting data in the HTML, because we are now going to get only one single post rather than getting all of the posts. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to create here a new URL called single post URL, and then it's going to be equal to the URL that allows us to get only one single post, which is this URL. Let me copy it, and then I'm going to paste it in my project here. But at the end, we don't want the process to be static, meaning that we don't want to get only the post that has an ID of 1. Instead, we want to get any post by its ID. Therefore, I'm going to remove this one, and then I'm going to pass the post ID that I am interested in whenever I call the function that's going to get that single post. So here, single post URL. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new function that is going to be very similar to this. So I'm going to create here a new function. Let me here create a new function. Here I'm going to create a function that is called make AJAX request single post. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy the code from the make AJAX request posts, which is this function. I'm going to copy the code, and then I'm going to paste it inside the make AJAX request single post. But we need to change one thing. The only thing that we need to change, actually we need to change two things. The first thing that we need to change is the URL. So the URL is going to be, instead of posts URL, it's going to be single post URL. And the function that is going to be called, the callback function that's going to handle getting the data, is going to be different. So I'm going to remove this from here, and then I'm going to create a new function here called AJAX response for single post. And I'm going to call this function here. I'm going to assign this function to the already state change of the make AJAX request single post. So here I'm going to say AJAX response for single post. Here for single post, and here for. And that's it for this make AJAX request single post. But we need to pass the post ID, because as I told you earlier, we need to get a specific post by its ID, and we need to change that ID. We need to be able to pass or get different posts, not only a single post by its ID. Instead, we want to get a single post by ID, but we want to have control over which post we want to get. Therefore, I'm going to pass here a parameter. I'm going to here add a parameter called post ID. And here I'm going to append that post ID to the single post URL, meaning that I'm going to here add plus and then post ID. So this this single post URL is gonna have the ID appended to it. So if we append, for example, 1, it's gonna be appended here. If we append 2, it's gonna be appended here. Therefore, we will be able to get the post that has an ID of 1 or 2 or 3 or 8 or whatever, just by passing here the post ID. The third thing that we need to do is that we need to get the code from the AJAX response for posts, which is this. We need to get the complete code, we need to copy it, and then we need to paste it inside the AJAX response for single post. And then we need to change what needs to be changed. So what do we need to change here? Well, what we need to change is that we need to change the insert posts into HTML. Instead of inserting using the insert posts into HTML, we need to create a new function. Here we need to create a new function called insert into insert single post into HTML, and then it's gonna take that post as a parameter. So I'm gonna say here post, and here in the AJAX response for single post, we need to change the function that we call from here. We need to change the insert function. The insert function is not gonna be the insert posts. Instead, it's gonna be insert single post. And then we need now to work on the insert single post. So we need to get the code from the insert posts into HTML. So I'm gonna copy the code from here, and then I'm gonna paste it inside the insert single post into HTML. But now, since we have only one single post, we don't have posts. We cannot loop over an object, because we are gonna get only one single post. So it's a single post, not an array. Therefore, I'm gonna remove this part. We don't need this part. And we also don't need to append the old. We don't want to append the old posts dev.inner.html. We need to remove this, and we need to remove these two, the curly braces and also the single bracket. And we need to make sure that the inner HTML is empty. We need to make sure that the posts dev is empty. So I'm going to say here posts dev, and then inner HTML, and then I'm going to say equals to nothing, because we want to remove everything from it before we insert that single post. So this is the complete process. The final thing that we need to do is that we need to call the make AJAX request single post. So instead of calling make AJAX request posts, I'm going to remove this now. We no longer need this. We no longer need to call the posts. Instead, I'm going to call make AJAX request single post, and then I'm going to pass the post ID. For example, if I pass 1, and if I save now, let me click on save all, and then let's test now. Now in the browser, if you refresh, guess what? You are going to get only one single post, and the ID is 1. Let me change the color here. Let me change the color so that you see here the color is yellow. Let's say black, so that you see the post ID. So the post ID is 1. As you can see, the post ID is 1. If you pass at the end, if you pass here 2, if you pass 2 here and save and refresh, you are going to get the post that has an ID of 2. So as you can see, you are going to get this post. If you pass 3, if you pass here 3, you are going to get the post that has an ID of 3. As you can see, 3. So this is how it works. And a final note is that you might be wondering, why have I created all of these functions? Why can't I just create a single function that can make a AJAX request for any endpoint? Well, the answer is that you can do that. By the way, you can do that, but if you do that, it's going to be a little bit complicated, and I don't want to confuse you. I want to make everything clear so that you understand the whole process. But the answer is yes, you can create a general function that is capable of making a request, but it's going to be a little bit complicated for you. So therefore, I have created so many functions to kind of um, separate the process so that the getting all of the posts, we in case we want to get all of the posts, we will have functions that are assigned just to do that, and in case we want to get a single post, we have functions that are assigned to do that. So in case we want to get a single post, we have functions to do that, such as the insert single post into HTML, and also the AJAX response for single post, and also make AJAX request single post. So this is how the process works, and this is why I have created a separate functions for getting a single post by ID.